Hello everybody, and welcome to a video on calculating income tax for a given salary. We're going to be practicing today how to find out how much money you're going to be left over with after you pay what's called income tax. And as we discussed the other day, fairly briefly, there are only very specific states, I think there were 6 or 7 states total, that you do not have to pay income tax. A lot more than Mr. Satz had thought. The only one that he could name off the top of his head was Washington State. But there are more. Another one that I can remember off the top of my head now is Florida, and I believe New Hampshire is another one. But there were more, so don't think that that's just it. So our goal today is to try to find out how much we're going to be left over with after we pay taxes. It's not too exciting to find out how much taxes we are paying. We really want to know how much we're going to be left over with so that we can, budget for that big family vacation to Australia that, of course, we want to go on. We want to find out if we're going to have enough money to budget that. We don't want to guess about taxes. So the first thing that I want to show you guys is the income tax pay scale, or the tax rate scale. So you'll be provided this on your worksheet. I just rewrote it in some fun colors. So you can see in the first tax rate we have 10%, and that goes up to $9,700 or $9,700. Then we have a 12% tax rate, which does another group of money. And the interesting thing is you're taxed differently based on the amount of money and which monies you made first. So if you made, let's say, $10,000, your first $9,700 would go towards your 10%, but then you'd only be taxed at 12% at the remaining $300, which is kind of neat. I remember when I learned this a few years ago when I first taught this topic. I think it was actually last year. So I found it to be very interesting. So I've got some helpful hints that we can use to get started. The first hint that I've got is that we want to calculate the maximum amount of money for each one of these tax rates. So in order to do that, all we have to do is the subtraction that's involved in each of the problems. Now in our first one, it goes from 0 to 9,700. So that's just easy. It's 9,700. So I'm just going to write that in parentheses right here. All right, I'm going to do the same thing for my green tax rate of 12%. So I'm going to do 39,475 minus 9,701. And when I do that, I get the maximum amount that I can have in that range, which is $29,774. And the last one we're going to do is the blue one. We're going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to do 84,200, subtract 39,476 to get the maximum of this tax rate, which is 44,724. These numbers are going to be helpful to us later on. All right, now let's take a look at our first example problem. Our first example says that we make $9,350. Not a lot of money, but all we have to do is figure out how many tax rate brackets we have to look at and then go ahead and calculate them. So when we go back to our slide with the tax rates on it, you'll be able to easily go back and forth. We see that 9,350 is less than 9,700. So this entire salary of 9,350 will be taxed at 10%. In order to find 10% of a number, I'm going to take that number, which is 9,350, and multiply it by 10%. We have to remember that percents are out of 100. So this is 10 out of 100. So I have 9,350 times 10 out of 100. Hopefully you learned how to simplify fractions, and you would know that we can cancel out this 0 here with this 0 here, and we are left with the fact that we are multiplying 9,350 by 1/10. We also don't like fractions, but it's easy to turn this into a decimal. So we have 9,350 times 0.1. And that will give us our answer as far as tax is concerned. which is just $935. Now that's how much the tax is. So in order to find out how much we have left after tax, we have to do subtraction. So I'm going to take my original amount of money, $9,350, and I'm going to subtract my tax, $935, to find out that I get to keep $8,415. All right, let's move on to our second example. In our second example, we're now making $27,000. So we've moved up in the world. We're making about 3 times as much money, a little less than 3 times as much money. So what we need to do is we need to take our time and go at this one the same way. All right, so the first thing you want to do is find out how many brackets or tax rates that we need to look at. So up to $27,000 is covered by our green tax rate. Our 12% tax rate goes up to $39,000. So our 10% tax does up to $9,700. So that's maxed out. We definitely are making at least $9,700. So we're going to be paying that in taxes. So we have $9,700 or $9,700 at 10%. So that's times 0.1. And that gets us 970. So that's how much money we're losing from that first tax rate. But there's more, because there was still $27,000 and we've only used $9,700. So because of the fact that this doesn't get maxed out, I'm not going to be using up to $39,000. I'm only using a number that's between these numbers. So what I need to do now is subtract that $9,700 that I got right here. I have to subtract that from my $27,000 to find out how much is left. So I'm going to do $27,000 minus $9,700, and that leaves me with $17,300. Okay, so that's how much we have left over for our next tax rate, which was in green. So now I can calculate that. So I have 17,300 at, go back to the green one, it's 12%. So just as a shortcut, just like 10% was 0.1, 12% is 0.12. So 0.12, and then we'll be able to get our answer right there, which actually comes out to 2,076. So now we have 2 different tax amounts, and we need to take both of them away from our original salary. So our final calculation, we got to do 27,000 minus 970 minus 2,076. And that will give us our final answer, which is how much money we get after taxes, which is called our net income. Let me write that down for you. Net income, that is what we're looking for right here. And the net income of this example, once we do our subtraction, would be $23,954. So maybe we can afford that trip to Australia, maybe not. Let's do one more example that's a little more complicated, and then I'm going to let you guys do number 4 totally on your own. All right, in problem number 3 now, we're making $60,000. So maybe we've been a teacher for, I don't know, 15 years or so, and maybe that's how much money that you're making. Teachers who work for about 15 years in the same school district in a public school, they might be making about $60,000. It's a pretty decent amount of money. And we're going to go through this process exactly the same. First thing, $60,000 is way more than our first rate of 10% at $9,700 or $9,700. So we're going to be using the maximum there. So we have $9,700 going at 10%. Which we've already discussed is $970. All right, our next one is that 12% or that green one. And this is why we calculated those maximum numbers, because now that we know that we're going to maximize this entire green row here, because the number that we're dealing with is bigger than the 39,000 maximum in the green section, I'm going to use that thing that we calculated in parentheses, this 29,774, because I want to use all of the money at 12%, and I don't feel like calculating that number another time. So I'm going to have 29,774. And that's going to be at, I think, 12%. Yes. So 0.12. Which gives us 35. $3572.88. All right, and we're still not at 60,000 because 60,000 is included right in here. It's less than 84,000 but greater than 39,000. So we got to use this range here too. So we need to find out how much money we have left that's going to be taxed. So now I'm going to do some subtraction. And I'm going to do 60,000. And I'm going to take away the two numbers that I got before that I've already used, this 9,700 and this number right here. So we have 97, yeah, 100. And then I'm going to also take away 29,774 to find out what I'm left with after I do that. And it turns out the number that I'm left with is 20,526. So because I have that much left over, that's how much is going to get taxed at the blue rate, because it's not maximized out. We did not pass the $84,000 right here. So at 22%, I'm going to have that number that I just wrote. All right, so the number I just wrote was 20,526, and I'm going to take that tax at 22%. So that's 0.22, and that's all I have to do. Once I multiply that by 0.22, I get that that is equal to $4,515.72. Okay, now we've got it all done. We've got our three tax numbers, and we can do our subtraction from our original amount of money, our 60,000. Let's do it in a fun color. Orange is fun. So we're going to do 60,000. Subtract 970, our first tax amount. Subtract 3,572.88, our second tax amount. And our third tax amount was $4,515.72. And once we complete all of that subtraction, we find out that the amount of money that we're left with is $50,941.40. That is our net income. You might be wondering, if that's my net income, what's another word for a salary? Oh, it's got a good name. It's called our gross income. And it's called our gross income. This is not actually why it's called gross income, but I'll tell you why I call it gross income, because it's lying to me. It makes me think that I'm making $60,000 and I'm only making $50,000. That's disgusting. It's gross. It's a lie. All right, I will be in the Google Meet with you guys while you're working on this, so if you have any questions, I should be able to answer them. Hopefully you can follow the math in order to get at least 3 out of 4 correct on this worksheet.